God is silent. God is silent on Daniel being worshipped. So if he doesn't say anything against it, I guess there was nothing wrong with it. Thank you. So worshipping Daniel, nothing wrong with that, ladies and gentlemen. The Christian God is silent on polytheism. No wonder you're a Trinitarian. Now it all makes sense. Now, you even agree with me. You can't even give a proper response to why the Jews during the lifetime of Jesus and after him were surprised about a belief in a God-man. Oh, it's complex. It's not complex at all, my friend. You are doing what you accuse the Jews of doing. You are the one who is coming up and changing their belief. And this other point, Jesus will sit at the right hand of God. Indeed, Jesus will sit at the right hand of God because he doesn't actually sit on the throne of God. Sitting on the right hand of God is an honor. On top of that, his disciples will also judge people with him. Funny how you left that point out. His disciples, ladies and gentlemen, will judge with him. And anyway, when I come back on the mic, we're going to talk about Mary. What did Mary believe about her son? This goes back to my first point, what the Jews believe. I'm off the mic.
It's starting to get ridiculous that Mr. Zaatari refuses to address my point about Jesus being the truth. I've said it enough times that I know that Mr. Zaatari has heard it, and I know that he's simply refusing to address it. The Quran says Allah alone is to be given the title of the truth. Jesus claims the title of the truth, therefore, according to the Quran, Jesus must have claimed deity. Now, as for sitting at the right hand of God, I have made the point that in the ancient Jewish Testament of Job, sitting at the right hand of God meant that you shared in God's divine authority. The prophets sit at God's left hand, or they stand at his right hand. The disciples are with Jesus, but they do not sit at the right hand of the Father. Jesus Christ, by sitting at the right hand of the Father, claims to share in divine authority. My source for that is the Testament of Job. Again, you claim that, why were they confused about the God-man? Well, they were confused about the God-man because they didn't believe that one of the persons of the Jewish Trinity would become incarnate in a God-man. They did believe in a multi-personal God, but that is not the same thing as believing in a God-man. You're simply trying to mesh these two issues together. It's not going to work. Again, respond to my assertion about the truth, and Jesus claimed to be the truth. Now, as for the prophet Daniel, you again ignore my point. There's a difference between being silent on pagan worship. God is still silent on pagan worship. Why doesn't God come down here and say, why doesn't God come down to the Christians and say, stop worshiping a man? Your God, Allah, is being silent on pagan worship. So God's silence proves nothing, but God is not just silent in Daniel chapter 7, he encourages the worship of the Son of Man. So if the Son of Man is not to be worshipped, why in the world is Yahweh, God, encouraging the worship of the Son of Man? Now you say, divine wisdom isn't God, but Abraham, you claim to be faithful to Abraham. Abraham, Genesis chapter 15 verse 2, says to the word, Yahweh God. And as I've noted, the word Logos is equivalent to the wisdom of God. So Abraham calls the Logos Yahweh, calls the wisdom Yahweh. Jesus claims the wisdom, therefore Jesus claims to be Yahweh. It's as simple as that. You say, where does Jesus say, I am Theos, I am God? But earlier you claimed that Theos doesn't necessarily mean God. Which is it, Mr. Zaatari?
Indeed, when somebody is calling Jesus a simple theos, that doesn't make him God. But when someone, what did I say? I said explicitly when someone says, I am God. That's what I'm asking for. And you keep bringing this point up about the truth. It's not that I'm ignoring it. I keep forgetting it because it's such a rubbish point. Yeah, Jesus is the truth. But now, can you bring me the verse you keep talking about? Because there is a hadith where the Prophet Muhammad said, paradise is the truth. Hell is the truth. All of these things are real. Furthermore, let's assume that a Quranic concept disagrees with a biblical concept. The fact is, in the biblical context, that wouldn't make him God. So your entire point is irrelevant. It's nonsense. It's garbage. So that's with that. And you keep ignoring what I'm saying about Daniel. This is like the third, fourth time I have to repeat it. And I'll say it again. Daniel is not some hillbilly. He's not some hillbilly. He's not some normal guy on the street. He's not some normal guy like me and you. He is a prophet who is communicating with God. God is communicating with him, giving him prophecies. This guy is a representative of God. And he is being worshipped. He has his own book, the book of Daniel, and he's being worshipped in a divine book, and God is silent on it. You keep ignoring this context that I keep bringing up because you know it shoots you in the foot. Your God went silent when his prophet, a Jewish prophet of the first commandment, who he sent, he went silent when polytheism happened. Your God went missing. He didn't say anything against it when a prophet is worshipped, so there's nothing wrong with it. And now you say, oh, well, the Jews, they were just confused. The Jews didn't believe in a God-man. Oh, how convenient that you just came along. If it's so clear, why didn't they? Notice the inconsistency. My time is up.
Okay, you said if it's so clear, why didn't they believe it? Okay, I can just use that same logic against you. If it's so clear in the Bible that Jesus isn't God, why don't we believe Jesus isn't God? Bad logic, bad point. Now you say Daniel is not some hillbilly, he's a prophet of God. I acknowledge that, but again, you ignore my point. There is a difference between silence to false worship and encouraging false worship. Now, let's say that Daniel said, yeah, come on, keep worshiping me. Let's say Yahweh said, yeah, keep worshiping Daniel. Then you would have a point, but he doesn't. They're just silent on it. In Daniel 7, Yahweh encourages the worship of the Son of Man. You continue to ignore this point. You say, Al-Haq, the truth, in the biblical context, that wouldn't make him God. Why? You just asserted that. You didn't prove it. Now you ask for the Quranic verse, and I'm going to give it to you. In Surah 22:62, it says, that is because Allah is the truth, Al-Haq, and that is that which they call upon other than him is falsehood, and because Allah is the Most High, the Grand. Now, in Arabic translations of the New Testament, what does Jesus call himself? Al-Haq. Al-Haq. And you claim Jesus is a faithful Muslim? If he's a faithful Muslim, then he's claiming to be God, and therefore isn't a faithful Muslim, and therefore you have to lose the debate in the first place. Why does the biblical context mean something different? It's a clear title, Al-Haq, the truth. Now for Isaiah, you haven't responded to Isaiah 7, you've dropped that point. You dropped the point about Jesus saying, I am, and you responded to it a while ago. I responded to you. You dropped it. He appropriates the exact language in the Old Testament. Furthermore, I gave other examples of Jesus saying, I am, appropriating language in the prophet Isaiah, that you haven't addressed at all. You just focus on this one case. You don't address any of the other cases. You've dropped your point that Jews did not believe that wisdom was a separate person. I have shown clearly that Abraham calls the wisdom of God in the Old Testament Yahweh. Abraham, our father Abraham, the prophet, claims that wisdom was Yahweh God. Jesus claims to be the wisdom of God. Therefore, it's simple. Jesus claims to be Yahweh God. You say, well, Jesus would have to say, I am Yahweh. No Jew or Christian in that time period used the word Yahweh because Yahweh was considered too holy to be said. So Jesus wouldn't use the word Yahweh. He would use Theos, and that's exactly what Thomas calls Jesus, Theos.
Okay, you say I dropped Isaiah. I didn't drop Isaiah 7. Please don't make things up. You couldn't even respond to Isaiah 7. You gave a rubbish answer about some seculars and them saying this and that. Everybody go read Isaiah 7 for yourself. And your response to the Jews not believing in Jesus as a God or not believing in a God-man is saying, I'm using bad logic. Not really, because we're having debate. They didn't even have a debate on this issue. There was no such belief on this issue. That shows how crystal clear it was. Furthermore, it is clear in the Bible that Jesus is not God. I brought you a reference in my presentation where they used to debate each other. Who is Jesus, God or man? So actually it was very clear for the early followers of Jesus, and you never went back to that reference. Indeed, it is very clear. As I told everybody, if you leave their Trinitarian interpretations aside, they have nothing. He's yet to bring a single verse where Jesus says God is 1 in 3 or 1 in 3. He's yet to bring a single verse where Jesus says I am Yahweh. And he's yet to bring a single verse where Jesus says I am the God-man. And then you bring up the point about I am. That means nothing. That was already addressed when he was on the sea. And when he said before Abraham, I am, again, that doesn't prove anything. Just because he's given that similar title, there are other people in the gospel who use that exact term, I am. Other people throughout the Bible are given titles of God. So that is another mute point. And again, you went back to Al-Haq, and I told you there's a hadith, the Prophet Muhammad talked about hell being the truth, heaven being the truth. Indeed, Jesus is the truth. There's nothing wrong with that.